Alright everybody, how are we doing today? So here we go. This is also from Reason, Free Minds and Free Markets, and it says, Aron Sandusky has spent 7 years in prison for selling medical marijuana. Aron Sandusky has spent nearly 7 years in federal prison for conspiracy to distribute cannabis. He is one of about 20,000 federal or state inmates behind bars for an activity that is legal in one form or another in 33 U.S. states and Washington, D.C. A bill is working its way through the Senate that might help people like Sandusky, but engaging their record, some advocates believe that President Donald Trump is close to granting clemency to some of these men and women, including Sandusky. When Sandusky opened a marijuana dispensary in 2009, medical cannabis had been legal for 13 years in California. But in 2011, the feds carried out a series of federal raids on medical marijuana clinics in California, despite earlier assurances from President Barack Obama and his Attorney General that they wouldn't target operations that were legal under state law. Sandusky had located his operation in the town of Upland, one of a handful of municipals that was attempting to use the zoning code to keep the industry away. Sandusky alleges that in 2011, the then mayor, John Pomierski, demanded a $20,000 bribe to allow him to continue operating. Sandusky ended up cooperating with the FBI, which later arrested and charged Pomierski with bribery and extortion. After Pomierski was indicted, Upland continued the fight to force Sandusky to close his dispensary, so he sued in state court and won. But cannabis is still a Schedule I narcotic, according to Sandusky. City officials retaliated by sending a formal request to the U.S. Attorney to shut down his operations on November 1st, 2011. Federal agents raided Sandusky's businesses. It's not even a narcotic. To my knowledge. Is it hallucinogenic? Maybe. But a narcotic? It's a drug. It's a mind-altering substance, but it's nowhere near as bad as as legal stuff like opiates and the opioid crisis. Opioids are way worse than any supposed narcotic. And even if it is a narcotic, then so freaking what? There's things way more dangerous than narcotics that you allow and are legally permitted. Perhaps instead of deciding what should be legal, we should be deciding what's right. Right, and it was legal for him to have a dispensary in California, but the federal government came after him anyway, against their own word. Keep in mind, this is the same government that let Epstein die under their watch. This is the same government that goes to war constantly in the Middle East and is generally the bully of the rest of the world, and quite frankly, our government is the reason why so many other countries and countries around the world just simply hate us. We really are the worst. For a lot of reasons. There's a lot we need to change, and this is just one thing in a pile. The federal government charged him with 6 counts of drug trafficking. Sandusky's employees all took plea deals. His business partner testified against him in return for a lighter sentence. Sandusky declined a plea deal offer that would have turned him into an informant. I said I'm not going to go set people up so those guys can take them down, says Sandusky. Those people are following state law. I don't know, I just sort of imagine he sounded like that. Anyway, Sandusky's attorney was planning to argue entrapment on the grounds that the Obama administration had publicly stated that it wouldn't prosecute marijuana operators. The judge prohibited that line of defense, and Sandusky was convicted and sentenced to the mandatory minimum of 10 years in prison. During sentencing, Judge Percy Anderson accused him of having lost his way about what's right and what's wrong. Aron, maybe more than anyone, should receive clemency because his case is so disturbing, says Amy Pova. Pova did 9 years in prison on a drug charge before receiving clemency from Bill Clinton in 2000. Now she runs the nonprofit Can Do Foundation, which seeks clemency for all nonviolent drug offenders. Sandusky is one of 22 pot prisoners who Can Do is currently working to free. Corporations are making millions from cannabis, and we're even getting into the billions, says Pova. I think it's almost a human rights violation to continue to punish people for marijuana offenses. It was probably a human rights violation that started in the first place. Pova says she's visited the Trump White House several times and met with Jared Kushner, who heads up the president's criminal justice reform team. She believes Kushner is open to reforming the clemency process and freeing more marijuana offenders. No victim, no crime. Plain and simple. Marijuana has never killed anyone. You literally cannot OD on it. It might impair their judgment, but if you have marijuana illegal and beer, freaking alcohol legal, and then you go through certain mental gymnastics to rectify that situation. Bottom line is, if you have to participate in mental gymnastics at all, something on your side of the argument has gone wrong. Plain and simple. This man has been wrongly jailed, and the government of this country should pay for it. Right? As soon as he gets out, this man should be living like a fucking king. I'm going to get deranked for swearing. I am predicting that the cannabis people who are honest about this will see that Trump is the one that can get this done, says Donna Rohrabacher, a former U.S. a former U.S. congressman and marijuana legalization advocate and a Trump supporter. He co-authored the 2014 Rohrabacher-Farr Amendment, which prohibits the federal government from expending resources to raid and prosecute anyone operating a marijuana-related business under state law. Rohrabacher thinks that under his law, Sandusky should be released immediately, though the courts don't see it that way. They should be let out of jail and they should be given their freedom, clemency, and maybe even an apology, says Rohrabacher. You stab someone with a knife and then you give them a band-aid. Sandusky is set for early release from prison this November, when he'll be transferred to a halfway house in California and then out on probation in early 2020. Even though Sandusky will be out soon, he knows he'll be facing consequences long after his release and continues to seek a court appeal overturning his sentence or a full pardon and expungement for operating a business within the bounds of California law. So yeah, another victim of our vicious government, people. Just coming along, locking up people. A law that was put on the books due in part to racism against Mexicans who enjoyed using marijuana, but also protect the paper industry from hemp. It was literally protectionism. You can literally find the information. It's out there. It's well known. Yeah, no. This government is evil, dude. I'm done. Our government is completely evil. It seems like no matter who you vote for, in some way they're a worthless sack of shit. It doesn't matter who you vote for anymore. I'm done. I want to hit the reset button on Western civilization, at least within the United States. I want to hit that reset button. I hate our government. I love our country. I love our people. I love our ways. But I hate our government so freaking much. No victim, no crime. No victim, no crime. Sandusky did nothing wrong. He was operating under California law. Obama denied him clemency. Trump needs to set him free. This was wrong on so many levels. Anyway.